All right, hey everyone, welcome to the Cold Feet Podcast. I am so excited and delighted to have the one and only Anya, who is now going to introduce herself.
Hi, I am Anya. I have a website called Anya's Reviews, and it started out as a review website for minimalist shoes and kind of grew into educating people about footwear and finding the right ones for their activities and how to transition and all kinds of stuff related to recovering foot function in a way that's sustainable and that pretty much anybody can take advantage of no matter where they're at in their life.
Well, Anya, I'm so grateful and so happy to have you on the show today. I also think today being International Women's Day, I think you're the perfect candidate, of a woman who's both an entrepreneur, empowering, inspiring, and it kind of combines her work ethic, working very hard with a sustainable movement lifestyle. Like I've seen so many people who will throw away their healthy habits for their business or for money, and I think you have this nice blend of it all.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It is definitely a challenge. I've been tempted many, many times to sacrifice some of those healthy habits in order to grow my business. But fortunately, I'm having to, I hear my own message and it's like, okay, I got to do what I'm preaching. I got to,
Yeah,
got to prioritize those walks.
yeah. I mean, you really gotta practice what you preach. I mean, it's not just that people are gonna call you out for being a phony, but the second you're in the barefoot shoe world, you're no longer just a clothes or apparel reviewer. You're actually a health and movement reviewer. And I think all
Mhm.
these people who are in this barefoot movement and education world, whether it's more in the shoe world or more in the health world, it's a whole it's a project combined. It goes hand in hand. Health and barefoot shoes, I think, just are one package deal, and you can't isolate one from the other.
Yeah, that's very true. And that's something that's actually been both very appealing to me because I really like education and I want it to be important. I want it to matter. But it also has been a challenge because I've realized that I have to be very careful, do my research. I check a lot. I check in with podiatrists and other professionals in the area before I publish things. There have been things that I publish and then I had to go back because I'm like, oh, I was a little too careless. I need to revisit this. And so on the one hand, it makes things more meaningful. But on the other hand, it is, you have to be smart and careful. And, I don't want to lead people astray. So I take that pretty seriously.
Yeah, I mean, first off, before we continue, I'm loving your whole audio tech setup. It's looking great. So, like for
Thanks.
the nerds among us, we got Baby Yoda joining us today on the podcast. This is special
Oh,
for
baby
Anya.
Yoda.
Baby Yoda's our jam. I think this is how me and Anya originally bonded, even though we're both in the same field of sorts. We bonded over, I think it was The Mandalorian. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mandalorian's awesome.
So it's really realizing that behind, the famous Anya, and they're just human beings behind everybody. And something I want to add as well, and then we'll really dive into the juicy details of the show, is that Anya's reviews, or Anya herself, has become, I'm not sure what the word is, a synonym to doing something efficiently. So, like here in Israel, where everyone knows about Anya, it's kind of like, oh, you Anya that shoe, which has become a verb describing someone who has thoroughly described something in so much
Oh my
detail
gosh.
that it leaves nothing to doubt. No, you're like I know I'm totally fanboying here, but you're the gold standard of what a barefoot shoe review should be, because you don't just give the specs. You kind of like, you give the outfits and you give the details and you give the performance and you give the function. And me being an barefoot educator, I like that you're incorporating education. And I'm also so happy to hear, and I'm hearing this right now in the show, how you're double checking and triple checking and doubting yourself, because that's how we grow. I mean, it's scary to educate, and it's even scary to educate on Instagram, where your reels or videos might be hitting hundreds of thousands of people, which are far more than you'd be able to hit in person. And like, what if you're wrong? What if you're just
Hmm.
spewing something that's incorrect?
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's happened to me, and I have to be willing to take that. And if I need to go back and eat my words and eat humble pie, like I have to be willing to do that if I want to be in this space.
Hmm.
But yeah, totally.
And Anya, can I ask you, can you dive in a little bit into your barefoot journey and how you got to barefoot shoes and in doing what you do today?
Sure. So I had orthotics prescribed to me at 9 years old. I'm hypermobile, so I have lax ligaments. I had really flat feet, and I had some complications from that. But rather than teaching me about hypermobility and like strengthening and stability, I was just given the orthotics and wasn't advised on lifestyle changes and things like that. And that's, also the state of medicine at the time. There wasn't a lot of education about people like me. And so I just lived my life with arch support from then on, for the most part. I wasn't completely confined to it, but if it was like a long walk or if I was going to be exercising, it was like, oh, I had to have my good shoes on. I just lived like that for a few decades. And then when I was pregnant with my second son, I developed really severe big toe pain after, ironically, at the night after I had worn a pair of high-heeled boots. And then it kind of went away. And then I wore those boots again. And then the next day, again, I was like hobbling. And this time the pain never went away. And I was just absolutely miserable. I could barely have anything touching my big toe. It was so inflamed. And I went to a podiatrist and was prescribed, again, a custom orthotic. And this time she said, never be without your stiff supportive shoes, like in the house all the time. And I would come to the appointment and she'd pick up my shoe and she'd be like, oh, it bends a little bit. So this is too flexible. You need to get one that doesn't bend at all. So I'm like thinking, like, I was 29 at the time. And I'm like, I'm 29 and I'm being told that I need to wear orthopedic shoes all the time for the rest of
And you
my
have to shower, and you have to shower with them as too, and sleep with them. God forbid you take them off.
Yeah, I this comes up a lot. I say this in a lot of my podcasts because I still can't believe this. I would crawl to the bathroom in the middle of the night because I didn't have shoes on.
Wow.
So like that's like my state. That was my state, was that being barefoot at all, standing up, was uncomfortable. So I took this advice and I tried it, and my condition just deteriorated. I started getting back pain and everything was kind of getting worse. And partly I think it was like a mental, emotional state, and then just not feeling mobile, not getting outside, not hardly walking. And I just was a complete mess. So it was then that I started pursuing more options. And my friend Miranda, who actually works on the Healthy Feet Alliance now, she was like, I think maybe you should think about barefoot shoes. And she lent me the book Whole Body Barefoot by Katie Bowman. I listened to it on audio and I was like, all right, this is something new. This is something I've never tried before. I'm like desperate. Let's go for it. Let's do it. So I started trying the foot exercises. I wasn't ready to just completely jump into the minimalist shoes at that point, which makes sense, given my history and how weak my feet were at that point. So I just started with the foot strengthening exercises and texture walking and, being barefoot more, and then kind of going back to the Birkenstocks is what I was in most of the time, and going back and forth. And then I got my first pair of barefoot shoes. Actually, first I had Ultras, which was like, what? Like a foot shaped shoe. Like it just blew my mind. I got a pair of Ultras and put them next to the other sneakers that I had been wearing. And I just couldn't believe immediately the comfort factor of not having my big toe squished, which was, my big toe was what was so painful. So that was like, okay, I'm really onto something here. Like I'm strengthening my feet. And then there are actually shoes in the world that don't pinch my toes. Like I had no clue. And I know, I love seeing that. I love seeing other people experience that because it's such a poignant moment when you've realized that you've been so uncomfortable stuffing your feet in shoes. And it's not just you. You're not the problem, actually. It's the shoes that were the problem. So after Ultras, I got a pair of Evo Barefoot, and I did slip a little orthotic in there and out, kind of like back and forth as I was building up the strength. And then it took about a year, and then I was just fully in barefoot shoes. And it's been just a progression since then, continually. I feel like I'm just still going up, to be honest with you. Like I'm just still slowly adding strength and stability and just keep working. And I love that I'm getting older and I'm getting stronger.
Yeah.
It's
And
like,
yeah, I mean, for all the people out there listening, Anya spent probably 20 plus years in conventional, harmful shoes, and she tried the conventional route. She went to the podiatrist, she went to the doctors, and I really think you did it right. And that's because you didn't say, "Oh, let me just ditch my shoes and let me switch to, Vibrant Five Fingers or something that's really minimalist, which can result in pain as well." And I've seen it, being in this barefoot education and strength and conditioning role, people who transition a little bit too quickly to barefoot shoes after spending 20 to 40 years of their life in thick cushioned sneakers, and they're like, "Oh, I ran 3 kilometers and my foot hurts, so I just switched back to my sneakers." And I'll kind of like roll my eyes, but I hide the eye roll, and I'll be like, "Well, did you think about the effects it's having on your arch and the effects it's having on your foot?" But as you said with the bunion, the biggest like pleasure I get is when I either lend or sell or even give shoes of mine to someone who's never worn barefoot shoes before. They're like, "There's so much room in the toe box. I can like finally
mhm,
splay my toes." And I work a
yeah,
lot with athletes, and most of these people live in cleats, which are notoriously narrow. And
mhm,
half of them have bunions, and all of a sudden they're like, "My arch doesn't hurt for the first time, and my big toe doesn't hurt for the first time." And I'm like, "That's the point. This isn't
mhm,
the way we're describing it. It's almost like this magical fix, and it is, but it's also not. It's common sense. So why would you take your beautiful feet and smush them into shoes?" I had a cool epiphany this morning in the gym when I was working with one of my female clients, and she said, "My foot's been hurting a lot lately." So I said to her, "Well, the cross that I gave you, like, cross blowing your feet every day and toe spreading and toe splaying." And I'm slowly, like, I think one at a time, all the clients who work with me one on one, because they're so exposed to, they call it Sean Feet for Life instead of Fit for Life, because I'm all about the barefoot education. I'm slowly like exposing them to shoes, and usually once they borrow a pair or they buy one, and like that's it, they're on the Feet for Life train forever. But she's still on the Nike train. And I said, "One second, stay right here." So she has her thick, I'll send you a picture of this after. She has her thick white Nike sneaker, which is like thick, thick heel, really stiff, really rigid. And I went and borrowed my wife Sarah's Field Grounds knit, the knit sneaker that you literally just roll
mhm.
into a ball. And I said, "Good, try these both on." And she's like, "Oh my God, this flexible one is so much more comfortable." And I'm like, "Yeah, now take them off." And I took the Field Ground sneaker and I rolled it into a thing this thin, and I took her Nike sneaker and I'm like, "Look, this is why your foot hurts." And sometimes it's really about the presentation. She's like, "Oh," like
Mhm,
it all made sense to her. So transitioning to barefoot footwear or minimalist footwear is a journey. It's a process. And as Anya has mentioned, it's not just like, you're putting your insole in and out. It's not just, "Let me pop on barefoot shoes," strengthening, mobilizing, soft tissue work as needed. It's really a journey. And that journey, for me at least, has been this greater journey of health and holistic health that was far greater than just putting on a pair of clothes.
mhm. Yeah, for sure. I agree with all of that.
So I also wanted to dive in with you today about how your company and your model is you're on social media a lot.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I've been seeing how, like, just from outsiders aspect, like we don't know each other personally other than our correspondence and Instagram, but seeing how you're taking the weeks off and you're taking the days off and you're putting it out to your followers like, "Hey, I'm not a goddess. I'm a human who gets overwhelmed." And I also feel that very, very much. And I really want to dive into that because both of our jobs require lots and lots of time, effort, and investment on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. And where do you draw the line? How do you control it? And how do you, manage all of it?
Yeah, it's a real challenge because Instagram isn't my job. It's marketing for my
Mm.
job. I mean, I enjoy connecting with my audience and being able to talk to them in a more immediate way, and it's fun. And so there's some things that I really enjoy about it, but it's kind of like I'm doing the work of multiple people. I'm running my business, but I'm also doing the entire marketing for it. And so that can feel pretty heavy because I'm might be trying to work on something that feels more like central to my purpose. I'm writing an article or I'm, working with a brand on something and then it's like, oh, I gotta post. And so finding that balance of like making sure that it still feels joyful and not a chore requires me to take steps back. And I don't know if this happens to you, but with my account being a business account, I get a whole lot of marketing about how to run your Instagram account. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah, I have
advice
a
and
business account as well. I don't even have a personal one. Like Sean Fit for Life is my brand.
yeah. So I get all of these sponsor or like, suggested content that's all about how I'm supposed to be posting every day and how I should use reels for my business and all this stuff. And so then that message is like competing with how I feel like I should be living my life. And finally, I just had to be like, okay, you know what? I can't post every day. And I have to let this to occupy the space in my life that it's going to occupy. And then if I feel overwhelmed, like yesterday, I had planned to post. I have ideas all the time and I enjoy making posts, but I did not feel like I was in the headspace for it. I just didn't want to be on camera. I didn't want to have, I didn't want to write pretty words. And so to let go of that and just be like, you know what, it's cool. Like just let it be authentic when it's authentic. And if it's not coming, then don't force it. And because my business is not Instagram, that works for me. I know some people who their account is literally their business, they're making money from posts and that's really important to them. And they might have to push through a little bit harder when they meet those roadblocks. But for me, it just doesn't work. I've approached burnout enough times since doing this that I'm finally ready to be a little better balanced.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I don't make money off Instagram actively. Like I'm not being monetized by Instagram, but it's the same concept. It's like your post and your education and your reels and your videos and your stories are showcasing not what you're selling, but who you are. And then when
Hmm.
people buy into the concept of you, like I
Yeah.
believe that Anya knows what's best for me, that's where it starts being passively monetized. But that
Hmm.
passive monetization has to be in collaboration with the fact that we're emotional human beings. And while Instagram has replaced the modern day poster, like instead of hanging up a poster in the local bar, now you'll just put up a post and Instagram
Yeah.
knows how the mighty algorithm knows how it gets to all the right people. But that I found is a very, very like dopamine triggering way of doing things. And a lot of times, even people who I wouldn't say we make money actively off social media, but we definitely make it passively. Like it is our marketing, it is getting our
Hmm.
message out there, it is pushing whatever our agenda is. But there's so much dopamine and like serotonin, all these happy hormones, like, oh yeah, I got 50,000 views on a reel.
Yeah.
Yay. That does nothing for me physically, emotionally, spiritually. Like maybe it will make me some money, maybe it won't, but it's almost people with social media tend to pursue the wrong things. And instead of pursuing the likes and the comments, pursue like, is this leading me towards my purpose today? Does this post
Hmm.
align with my philosophy? Does this post share with people who I am or what I'm trying to offer them? And even within that sphere of education, we still have to make money. We still want to support ourselves, but how do we balance that without being too pushy? Like, give me your money kind of thing, or like, here's
Yeah.
my program, buy it. Because Instagram, people don't scroll through Instagram just to see advertisements, they want to see personal stuff. So it's kind of this blend. And being up, at least for me, my I've been doing a post a day for like 4 years now, and every now and then I do a planned week off, like no
Yeah.
social media whatsoever, and that like kind of
Uh-huh.
saves me. But it's become fun. Like as you said, I have tons and tons of ideas. Like I literally wake up in the morning out of bed, like knowing exactly what I'm going to post. It just kind of like pops in my
Hmm.
head, and I'll go to sleep at night. Something's like it'll pop into my head, and then I'll like wake up again knowing what it is. And it's very, very natural to me. I love creating the content. I love creating the videos, but it does have a very, very strong toll on me. And the second it's like too much, I'm like, okay, phone off,
Yep.
time off electronics.
Yeah. Once I start looking to it for validation, like I'm having a rough day, so then I want to open it up and see how many new followers I have, then I'm like, okay, that is a bit of a warning sign that I need to take a step back and remember what makes me happy, what makes me me, what's purposeful in my life. And it's not always this. But like you said, I also have fun with it. And I try to make sure that my content aligns with either something that I feel compelled to share because it's honest and it's like feels important, or it's education, or it's guiding people to my website or to my work. and that's like business marketing, right? It's like letting people know how they can support me by going to my website or my shop or whatever. If it's not one of those three, then it's not worth posting, in my opinion, because it might be just because I'm having a bad day, or because like I want to vent or whatever. Then I say, okay, I'm not going to use my business platform for that. And I'm not going to turn social media into a way to like feel okay with myself. So then I take a step back and I try to make sure that all my posts align with one of those three things. But yeah, it's a constant adjustment. It's a challenge for sure.
Yeah, I think the funnest part for me of social media is really like the human interaction it's led to me. Like I would say three-quarters of my podcast guests have been people that I've met through Instagram or Facebook, mostly Instagram, and I've really been able to connect with humans who are not just colleagues, but actually friends and people who I interact with on a daily basis, whether it's even WhatsApp, and I plan on visiting them when I'm in the States. And that's the beauty, even though it's a double-edged sword, that's the beauty of social media, that if done correctly, it's allowing your outreach to connect to so many people, and not just for
Mhm.
monetary purposes, but also for community purposes and outreach and, holistic connection to people. And I found that it's a very fine line of what do you use your social media for. So similar to you said you have three pillars. So you have, being true to yourself. You said
Education.
driving people to your website as well as education. So with Sean Fit for Life, I have the same concept. Like I have, a mobility theme day, I have a athletic development theme day, I have a barefoot education theme day. And if I get to a point, I'm like, no, this is like a cute picture of Charlie, but this is not like time, this is like not tying into what I am. Like this is not a personal Instagram. Obviously, with social media, I'm not like a social media expert, but you do want to make it personal to an extent, because otherwise you'll just get swallowed up by the other barefoot shoe reviewers out there, or by the other, strength and conditioning coaches out there. And the story, I feel, is really the place for that. Like, make it you. Go walk barefoot with your family and go hiking and showcase people that you do what you preach. I hike, I spend time outdoors, I do weird stuff with yoga blocks, and I step on Legos and whatever other foot fetish stuff we get up to
Foot
in our spare
fetish.
foot fetish. Yeah, no, I'm saying because that people like Sean and his foot fetish stuff, and I'm like, guys, this is like purely for educational purposes, okay?
Yeah.
Everyone stop making fun of me. I'm saying, but like whatever we barefoot gurus get up to in our spare time, Legos and glass. But that sounds weird.
Glass.
Legos and glass. Anyways, the point is showcase who you are and be true to yourself. The best thing I've ever heard about social media advice is don't do stuff just to put it on Instagram. Obviously,
Hmm.
for marketing, it's different because you're like filming this unboxing of fruit so I can put it on Instagram and YouTube, but be yourself. Like,
Hmm.
and I really try. It's very hard for me because like I'm on a hike and I'm like, I just want to pull out my phone. Hey guys, I'm doing, this barefoot. No, no, no. Phone away. Enjoy the hike. Enjoy the nature. If you want to like get a picture and showcase your stuff, cool. But like, you have to draw the line between, especially as people who, as I said, we don't make direct money from Instagram, but it is our way of marketing. Drawing the line between I need to spend time away from my phone, between I also want to showcase who I am, is like the finest line that will be in our daily life, and it's a daily struggle. It really is.
Yeah, for sure. That's a big reason why you don't see my family very much on my account. And it's not because family's not important to me. It's actually quite the contrary. But because when I'm with my family, I'm not documenting it
Mm.
for someone else. If I'm documenting it, it's for me. And so then I don't have anything to share about it because I lived it, I experienced it. And the times when I am documenting, it's more intentionally like this is part of my work. So yeah, I feel that. I feel that
Yeah, I like
balance.
I like how you structure. Like Sarah, my wife, personally hates being on my Instagram, and she's like, "No, you're not posting me. No posting me, not allowed." And I'm still like learning and growing. And Charlie's my poster boy. Charlie the dog. He's gonna be like the Where's Waldo of my Instagram. He's gonna show up in every single post and every single picture. You can check it out, John Fit for Life. But anyways, like for dinner time, like phones away. I even try to turn my phone off at a certain time in the evening to really just give me some me slash our time. Give us some time where
Hmm.
we're not on phones, we're not posting everything, and my personality type is tempted to document more and hey, document our workouts and document what we eat and document what shoes we're wearing. But there has to be some, as you said, there has to be some family time that's pure. Oh, I left my phone at home today for a hike. I'm just going to kind of enjoy it. And what's
Hmm.
beautiful in like the lifestyle I live, so there's a concept of Saturdays, which is like the Sabbath, where, I mean, everyone's going to approach it depending on like how religious they are, but no electronics from Friday night to Saturday night. So that's no computers, no phones, no lights. And I mean, you can turn, like, lights could be on before, but you're literally forced to take a 24-hour break from electronics. And it's like, yay, I don't have to post
Hmm.
today. It kind of gives you this
Yeah.
greater fulfillment where you can just do what you do for the fact that you love it. And it's weird because I'll wake up on Saturdays sometimes feeling a little bit empty, which is kind of showing my relationship with social media. Like, maybe I'm a little bit too reliant on it to like showcase my stuff. Maybe I should take another Saturday in the middle of the week. And that's why I'm always like turning my phone off multiple times a day and finding this sustainable, that we keep repeating this concept, but finding a sustainable relationship with social media.
Hmm. Yeah, I like that.
I have another question for you, and that is, I know you have Anya's store, so congratulations on that. That's a big
Thank you.
accomplishment. By the way, guys, Anya is not only selling other brands, but she actually has her own brand now. So that's like ultimate goals, right? I was thinking back in the day to, this was like when I was working with Clayton like 2 years ago. Was trying to like make a barefoot cleat because I saw the demand, and now there's two people doing it. So I'm like, I'm gonna let the people who know how, and not like in an imposter way. I just never dealt with shoes before. I'm gonna let the dudes who like know how to deal with shoes make shoes. Now I'm gonna pursue, the other stuff I like doing. But
Yeah.
a lot of Anya's model, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, and also mine, is based off affiliate marketing, right?
Hmm.
And that's basically using coupon codes or website links to refer people to buy different brands. And I'm going to give the mic to you and the metaphoric mic in a second, but I want people to understand that it's not as easy as people think it is. It's not like, oh, here's my link, buy my stuff. There's a reason why the world of advertising and e-commerce is so like complex, and many companies don't make it, because in order for someone to buy a product from you or based off your referral, they have to trust you. So you have to
Hmm.
provide value to this person in order for them to want to buy for you. So it doesn't matter how many affiliate links you make or how much potential like you can make with it, because they say, oh, you can make millions. It's really about building something that people believe in. So I think affiliate marketing is really based on the power of belief. The mic's yours. You're the expert here. On you.
Yeah, so you're right. I do use affiliate marketing primarily for my website. I mean, entirely actually, because I don't have any ads or anything that show up on my website. And then I do have my shop and my own shoes, and also the wholesale shoes that I'm selling at retail there. So that's kind of a separate thing that I don't actually. My husband mainly runs that, Justin, and I'm like creative, deciding what to
The
sell and stuff
creative
like that.
guru. I got it. Yeah.
But from my half of the business, the website, it is all affiliate marketing. And like you said, it's I've always tried to make it exactly like you said, a loyalty thing where I am thinking about serving my readers first. Because if all I'm thinking about is just getting them to buy something, for one, there's a very high chance they'll return it and then I won't get the commission. And two, they won't come back. So first and foremost, it needs to be a value to the reader. Because one, I want it to be the right shoe for them. I don't want them to have to return it. And two, I want them to keep coming back. I want them to keep reading, and read my next articles. So value to the reader is my first goal always. I cover a lot of shoes that I don't have affiliate links with. And that's something that I don't think a lot of people realize, that like sometimes I do a 10 best and my number one is not affiliated. I get nothing when you buy it. But that's because I'm telling you the truth. I'm telling you what I really believe is number one, is the best, whatever, the best barefoot hiking sandal. And so those articles I'm not just throwing out affiliate links at you. And but there are some in there, and I do, we have to disclose that, and
Disclosure.
yeah, to make sure that people realize that that's how I earn money on this. And most people are really happy to support me, but which is wonderful. I really appreciate that from readers. But like you said, it takes a lot of work to create the content, and oftentimes it's more work up front and you don't always know if you're going to make any money off of it. And I worked mostly for free for a year and a half, like really hard, not making hardly anything, because I was building up that loyalty and that authority and my base and my readership, so that we had kind of a community feel, so that my articles were valuable to them. And then over time, then it started being more productive, and that work was paying off. But I didn't know it was going to pay off. I wasn't sure. And also at the beginning, when I first started this, there were hardly any affiliate brands. I mean, affiliate programs for brands. So the majority of what I was doing was completely unable to be monetized. And because I have such high standards, I was turning down opportunities to make money. And I still do, because I'm not going to write about something unless it meets my ideals of what I believe a healthy shoe to be. So it really was a long game. And I think that you're right that a lot of people don't realize how much work I put into a single article, and that I really could not make money off of it at all. But then I have some that don't take me that long, and that people come back to over and over and over again. And then I end up, it kind of makes up for the ones where I put tons of hours into it and don't make anything. But yeah, affiliate marketing is fun that way. And I do like that model best of all, because it allows me to be authentic and to just speak my truth. And then people can decide what they wanted. You know, they can buy it or they cannot or whatever. So yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, like we kind of bounced off each other there, but the reality is that in the short term, you'll probably make more money off working a 9 to 5, and you're just working a regular job. And not only that, it's also possible that if you don't do it right, or don't build the trust, or don't build the community, or the amount of people who believe in you, it's very possible that you'll make more money in the long run as well working the 9 to 5. It's a combination of hard work, dedication, belief in yourself, providing value to your clients, and I also say like a bit of luck. You know, sometimes like I'm working now with the Barefoot Shoe Review now, and I've worked on tons of articles where it's like, you know, no one clicks it.
Nothing happens.
Then I'll make a post and it's like 10 referrals off like a picture. Like it's really hit or miss. And it's also important, especially, you know, bouncing back off that relationship with social media before that, like, chill out. Okay, yeah, you got an email, you referred another, you made another $5. Like, just okay, like for me, it's just okay, yay, like you made $5. Like just relax and enjoy the moment, and don't like over obsess with it, and don't be over pushy. And this is something I'm learning, because I went from, you know, having maybe 5 to 10 affiliates, you know, with different shoes because of what I do in person, and now this outreach to this international community with Barefoot Crew 5K, which I'm the strength honcho, whatever that means in British. And sorry, British guys, I'm still working on my English British dictionary. And, you know, working with the Barefoot Shoe Review, I'm responsible pretty much for all the articles now. And it consumes a lot of your time, especially working on deadlines. Like I know what went on in your home like a month ago when Zero's like, all right, Anya, 7 shoes. You have 2 weeks. Like I was like, shit, if I'm doing reviews on 3 shoes and Anya's doing reviews on 20 shoes, so it's like you're working on timelines, you're working on deadlines, and it's not even for your own brand. Like it's not personally validating. It's not like you're going out and taking cool pictures to sell your own stuff. It's working very hard for something for someone else, which you may benefit from in the long run. So like people out there listening, it's not personally validating inherently. It may not make money. It's just really about trust. It's really about building the community. And if you see, hey, I happen to have, like the case with me was that I created this community of like movement and barefoot education, and barefoot just ties right into it. So I felt that I was the perfect candidate, because I don't have an ulterior motive to give someone shoes. I'm not trying to like, here, buy these shoes so I can make a few bucks off it. It's I sincerely, genuinely believe that these shoes will help your life, along with strength and mobility and power training. So please, for your own benefit, to get rid of your foot pain, here's a shoe. And as you said, if I don't have an affiliate with a company, or there's no like discount code, whatever it is, I don't care. I'll refer them out to whatever I feel is best for them, because that's what it is. And like my most popular articles, exactly like you said, are not, so most of the shoes there aren't affiliates, because it's about love, education, and trust.
Yeah, totally. And I don't believe that I would be able to keep going if it wasn't important. If I didn't believe that it was actually benefiting the world and benefiting people's lives. Like I just couldn't do this on a long-term basis. And so I think that you're absolutely right. And that's one of the things that I love so much about being in this space is that it takes passion. And so other people that I come up against and work with and interact with online, they are passionate about this. They care that, and that means so much to me, to be able to have colleagues, essentially. I mean, that's really what we are
Hmm.
is colleagues,
We're
even though
work
it's,
buddies.
yeah, it's like weird to think about it that way. But like you mentioned earlier, the friendships, the relationships, the peers, that all of us are pretty passionate about this, like we believe that this is important and that it's affecting people's lives for the better and that it's worth it, because it's like, yeah, it is an uphill battle. And that's not to say that, we're not benefiting from it. Like it is a business and we have
Hmm.
to, we can't just not make money and work forever. Um, but yeah, having that piece of, I believe what I do and I'm authentic and I care, is so critical for me.
Well, you missed a total good opportunity to say this is the way. Because you were like, this
Oh,
is, anyways, yeah. So this is the way. It is the way,
too
and we believe,
creepy.
right, a little bit, and we believe it's the way, and we also that's the reason why I'm promoting it so much. Like I think to promote a product, you have to firmly believe in it. Even like I
Mhm.
don't want to really bring this in because this is not what we do, but even pyramid schemes, the reason why they succeed is because the power of belief. People believe in a product to sell to other people, to sell to other people, and just to differentiate, affiliate marketing is a totally different type of program, so don't get confused there. But I have another question for you. And the
Mhm.
question is because you're so much in this industry and you're impacting this industry so much, what do you think the timeline of barefoot shoes is? Is it a trend that's going to come and go? Is it something that's only going to increase? Is it going to completely fade out? What's your thoughts on that?
I do not believe it's going to fade out. I think that it might change. The language surrounding it might change. It might not be called barefoot shoes forever. And that's something that I think about for longevity, that, I need to be able to pivot if the nomenclature changes. But the idea of natural footwear, I do not believe is going anywhere. And if you think about the Born to Run
Crazy.
phenomenon, that it kind of it the perception was that it was like peak and then crash because there was the big fallout with the lawsuit against Vibram and people saying, people getting injured and that sort of thing. And that is true from one perspective, because it's true that there was a big public attention, media attention, and then it faded away and kind of came to a halt. But the grassroots movement has been going like this and like this and because it's person to person. There's a big online component, to it. It's not a lot of in-person shopping experiences where you can go and look at barefoot shoes, but the online nature of it makes it so that it can really kind of spread, and people are genuinely getting benefit out of it. I mean, that like it's like eating vegetables, like
Yeah.
that is not going to go away.
Yeah.
So there might be fads with diets and like what they're called and sort of extreme levels of it, but the idea of eating whole foods and vegetables is never going to go away. And that's the way I feel about natural footwear, is there are elements of it that are timeless. A foot shaped toe box, like
Makes sense. Just makes
it
sense.
just makes sense. And people might not choose it for everything, but
For fashion or for athletic purposes, yeah.
yeah, but for comfort, there's always going to be people who want that. And I think also the same with zero drop for lifestyle. There might be holdouts for particular sports or different types of shoes that quote unquote need a heel lift. Um, you know, I'm not saying that barefoot shoes need to be everywhere all the time, just like only barefoot shoes or nothing. But the idea of a flat shoe with a foot shaped toe box and a thin flexible sole, I just believe it's timeless. I don't
Yeah.
think that it will go away.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And obviously, everyone's culture and everyone's background is going to be different. I've done like basic statistics here in Israel just by going outside and meeting with thousands of people because that's what I do in my life. In Israel, in Jerusalem, specifically in the community where I live. So we're talking like 1 in 10 to 1 in 15 people either own or wear a minimalist shoe on a regular basis. And that's pretty powerful, especially in
Yeah.
Israel. There's also a huge center here in Tel Aviv, which has a barefoot shoe store. There's 3 or 4 Facebook groups where like I think it used to be, oh, you're one of those like barefoot people, and now it's like, oh, cool shoes, man. You know what I mean? Like it's changing the perspective. And
Hmm.
if this spikes and this increases, and there's increased availability, like the biggest reason I think why people buy Nike and Adidas and Timberlands is because when you go
Hmm.
to the mall, that's what's in your face. But on the other hand, if barefoot shoes or as you said,
Yep.
natural footwear, like you just go to a store and like, all right, here's the rows with natural footwear, and here's the rows with unnatural footwear or whatever they want to call it, the dark side footwear, the Sith Lord footwear, then people will start like, whoa, natural footwear, non-natural footwear. The same way that people will tend to eat stuff that say like healthy gluten-free bars, whatever it is. People will be like, oh, maybe I should go to the natural footwear. And then as they start realizing that there's actual health benefits, but they don't have to go gung ho, like they can still wear heels to the no, they can't wear heels to the wedding. They have to check out Anya's video on which sandals to wear to the wedding. But if someone wants to, like Sarah, for example, so she owns like maybe 5, 6 pairs of barefoot shoes, but she'll still wear her Timberlands every now and then. She'll still wear her Uggs every now and then. And yes, I forgive her. We didn't add it to our marriage contract, unfortunately. But I'm trying to get her subs. I'll be like, what sub can I substitute out so you'll be happy with like what kind of home slipper can I get you so you'll stop wearing your Uggs? But if it makes her happy, she can do it. There's nothing wrong with wearing heels once in a while. It's just that's my opinion. I personally, like as a human, for over 4 or 5 years, I've never worn a non-barefoot shoe with the exception of like making a video of how damaging a sneaker is. So may the barefoot gods forgive me for that. But you don't have to go gung ho. If you want to wear something that's damaging, just treat it that way. If you're going to wear your
Hmm.
cleat for sport, or if you're going to wear your heel shoe for a wedding or whatever it is, that's okay. But the second you take it off, do some soft tissue work, do some toe splaying, do some foot exercise to kind of restore that. And something that's happening here in Israel, and I'm so like honored to be part of this revolution, is that there's a huge company that imports different brands to Israel. So they've brought in Blundstone, if you're familiar, like the Chelsea style
Hmm.
boots. They brought in Crocs and all these like different brands. They just started a contract with Zero, and
Oh,
their
cool.
goal, yeah, it's like I can tell you the whole story. Their goal is to bring Zero shoes to all their stores around Israel. So we're talking you'll walk
Wow.
into a mall, and like in America, for comparison, in New York, I didn't see a single barefoot shoe anywhere, not in the Foot Locker, not in the Fashion Footlet factory shoe store, whatever they are. In Colorado, which is much more like outdoorsy, they do exist in REI, for example. They have Zero shoes and Lem shoes, and I'm very aware of these
Hmm.
because the first thing I did was like go to like most holistic natural place. You'll definitely find me in like a hiking store when I'm in like the Midwest or mid US. But this We Shoes brand, so they have stores in every single mall. And you're going to go into malls and you're going to start seeing alongside the Timberlands, you're going to start seeing Zero shoes. And all, Zero shoes has a very, very large variety. It's a huge, huge step. And what's even cooler is that when two things were, I'm not trying to fanboy myself. I'm trying to like, I'm just like cool by the whole scenario that I was able to
Yeah,
reach
it's
this point
cool.
and influence the world. So two conversations were happening simultaneously. I was speaking to Steven, who's the CEO of Zeros, just about like the new models and like some of the, I was telling about a hike I did where I did it in the Freets and like the Alpines would have been perfect for it. So he like sent me a pair of Alpines. We were just like chatting back and forth. And then he's like, oh, there's a new, I'm meeting tomorrow with an Israeli guy who's going to bring in the shoes to Israel. I'm like, oh, sweet. And then 2 days later, the CEO of the company is like, hey, Sean, we've seen you like active on like every single barefoot running Facebook group of barefoot shoes. You're like the only one who comments and you commented everything with like physical therapy and how to rehab your foot and what brands and blah, blah, blah. Could you come and give like all our stores like lectures on how to, what is a barefoot shoe, how to sell it, and can you create content for us? And I was like, and they didn't tell me they were bringing in Zero shoes. They're like, we're bringing in a brand. And I'm like, I got you. You're bringing in Zero shoes. My boy Steven told me. And they're like, wow, how do you know? So it's just this like funny,
You're like, I got the
um,
connections.
exactly. No, it was just a funny moment, but I'm very grateful that like, I'm just a dude. I'm just one guy living in Israel with, my bunny, rabbit, and wife. No, my dog, bunny, and wife. And the fact that when someone's so passionate and so fiery and really believes they will get to where they want to get. And this is like a really cool opportunity for me. And I feel that it's the same with you. I mean, you, as I said before, I'm fanboying again, but like in our Facebook group, so we got Barefoot Israel and we got Barefoot Running, which is like the two main Facebook groups here. So you come up in like every comment. It's like, yo, check out Anya's shop. Yo, check out Anya's barefoot work boots. Yo, check out. I'm like, you're like it's cool that some women in Ohio, Idaho,
Iowa.
Iowa. Geez, that was very Israeli of me, thinking that California is next to Florida. Um, Iowa. Like it's cool that like a woman in Iowa's impact is so powerful that her reach and her knowledge and her education is just spreading around the world and
Well,
continuing to spread.
thanks.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Sure. I mean, how do you think I met you? I mean, you helped me as well. I've asked not only did you I look at your articles, but when I reached out to you and asked you for like a little more private information, which would be the equivalent of like a personal training session kind of thing, you were happy to answer me, happy to give me the wisdom, happy to nerd out. So I very much appreciate that as well. And my next, oh, any insight, any added stuff on that specific topic?
I was thinking while you were talking, I mean, that's really cool about the zero shoes thing. And I think that we're going to keep seeing that. The majority, oh gosh, I don't know, maybe that's too strong of a word. Maybe I don't know if it's the majority or not, but so many people who end up finding my website and buying barefoot shoes are doing so because, oh,
No, that's my sauna. I'm still in the sauna, still heating it up.
okay. They come to me because they cannot stuff their shoes in their feet in shoes anymore. So they're not like, oh, I have a bunion, I need to correct it, or oh, I'm in so much pain. You know, they weren't coming to it from my angle where I really needed a long-term solution. They're just like, oh my gosh, my work shoes are so uncomfortable. And then they buy a barefoot. They're not even thinking of it as a barefoot shoe. They're not thinking about Vibram Five Fingers. They're not thinking about Born to Run. They're just thinking, I need a shoe that's practical for dressing up and being at work all day and being comfortable still.
That won't hurt my feet.
Yeah. So that whole section of the market is really intriguing to me because these are people who believe that their feet are difficult. They believe that their feet are wide, and they don't realize that almost everybody else, you know, that so many of their peers are thinking the exact same thing, that it's not them, it's the shoe market, and the shoe market's not serving human feet. And then they find me somehow. And then they're like, oh my gosh, you know, mind blown. And they're not so interested in the research. They're not so interested in, you know, some of the stuff that I'm thinking about, but they find something that makes their life better. And then a lot of them end up going down a little bit further down that path. And they're like, okay, well, this is really interesting. I'm discovering how I feel so much better in a flat shoe. And then they start thinking about their sneakers, which they had never thought before, sneakers being that. They thought that sneakers were the comfort shoe. And then it kind of progresses from there, which is great. But to me, the foot in the door is the most important thing. And if that foot in the door is just comfort, then like, wonderful. You know, let's make people's lives more comfortable. Let's make it easier for them to work and to feel good. So that factor, that whole dynamic of it to me is so important, and that we can't forget that it doesn't need to be heavy-handed. It doesn't need to be like, you know, like a religion where you buy into all of it. You know, you can kind of, like we were saying at the beginning, you can kind of go back and forth. You can have some things that you are wearing barefoot shoes, some things that you aren't, and that's totally actually really cool to start out that way.
I found that there's a few categories of people who are, into barefoot shoes. You kind of named them already. There's the people who like have a pair of barefoot shoes because that's what they do. It's comfortable, but they don't fanboy of it. Like if you compliment them in the street on the shoes, they'll be like, yeah, whatever, cool. Like, yeah, I have Nike, I have Vivo Barefoots, whatever. Then there's the other spectrum of people, I think like you and me, who are not just 2 feet in, but we're 2 feet, two hands, one nose, two ears, and two eyeballs in, where it's like we have a barefoot shoe for every occasion, for every sport, for everything. And obviously we're not the best examples because we own lots and lots of shoes because we review them. But even there's many people out there who have like a 4 to 20 pair collection. They'll have like a barefoot sneaker and a barefoot dress shoe and a barefoot sandal and a barefoot winter boot. And these are people I think who don't just do it just because they're comfy, but because they're firmly bought into the concept that barefoot is the way. And that, as we said in the beginning of the show, a barefoot shoe is not just an Air Jordan or a Nike shoe. It's a belief system.
Hmm.
It's part, at least I believe that barefoot is part of a holistic, healthy lifestyle, and spending as much time barefoot, which by the way, we didn't really mention, barefoot is just as cool. Like taking your shoes
Or
off.
cooler.
Exactly. But then we wouldn't be able to, sell those affiliates if we told people to take their shoes off. But I was like taking your shoes off, like first step, like you don't want to buy shoes right now, even though there's some really nice, budget brands, take your shoes off. Just take
Yeah.
them off, and that is the way. And over time, your workplace may need ones, and like companies like Lems, like they and even Ultra, they're doing it like I'm not trying to market to people who like are looking for five finger shoes because a lot of people do find that aesthetically weird. They're making nice boots which are thick soled, nice and cushy, nice and comfy, but they took away the damaging attributes of barefoot shoes without taking it too far and like let me put toes on them or let me make them look really weird or let me make them with like uber what they call clown shoes. Not that I mind, but people do.
Hmm.
Um, Question for you. You said before about like your favorite sandals. So this is a dangerous topic, but if you get to
Hmm.
pick one shoe and one sandal for the rest of your life, dun dun
Oh,
dun, which do
you
you
can't
pick?
ask me that.
Fine, fine. You get one shoe, one boot, and one sneaker. I was gonna ask you one favorite shoe, but I realized that's too individual. Don't worry, I'll censor this part out so no one, cuts the relationship.
So for sandals, I really, really, really love my Shama sandals, but they're not very dressy.
Mm.
So Lebu leather.
Which boot? Which Lebu leather?
Yeah, those are
That's the
sandals.
one.
They're leather
Yeah, yeah.
sandals, and you can wear them hiking and stuff, but they look a little dressier, more stylish. So that
Hmm.
would, if I could only do one, I'd probably do that one because it can kind of cover both. Um, for sneakers, oh my gosh, I don't even know.
Oh, too much variety.
I do really like my Mookie Shoes sneakers for this exact same reason because the leather ones, the white leather ones, because they can kind of cross over both. Like they can look stylish, but they also I could just hike in them all day or wear them all day. And then for a boot, oh, might be Mookie Shoes again. My
Two
Mookie Shoes
places.
again. Yeah. I like Mookie Shoes because they're super, super light, but they look more mainstream.
Mm,
So if I can only have one, then I try to pick one that can kind of be both,
yeah.
you know.
How much does aesthetics, because you have such a variety, how much does aesthetics in a shoe matter to you? Let me rephrase that question. Would you, if you get to pick between two, would you focus on more of an aesthetic pleasing shoe or more something that's just lightweight, super flexible, and more functional?
If I can only have to have one, then
Yes.
it's got to be a mix. So because
Mm,
that is important to me. That if I'm going to be wearing it out a lot, then I want it to feel good in it. I want it to look good. But I have plenty of shoes that I think are not very attractive, but that I absolutely love, and that I wear hiking and on walks all the time. And I don't
mm,
mind that. I
mm,
don't have a problem with that. You said, some people don't like the clowny shoes, or
hmm.
they think certain shoes are ugly, and I might say, okay, yeah, it's not attractive, but I'm still going to wear it.
There's also a difference between what you wear to a wedding and what you wear hiking. If you look at standard
Yeah.
hiking shoes like Salomons and whatever, I don't even know mainstream brands anymore. They're not particularly pretty. They're usually like a brown, earthy color, and they go up your ankle. And I think Vivo Barefoots are like trackers are beautiful. I personally don't like them because I find them very like bulky and stiff, and I want something way. I want like a wildling shoe when I hike. I want my 2 feet. Shout out to
Yeah.
Wilding for being super lightweight and comfortable. And
Yeah, for sure.
I've never tried Mookie shoes, but I have recently delved into Wilding shoes. By the way, the owners Ron and Anya are Israeli, which is cool. Little
That is
nation
cool.
nation pride
Yeah.
there. So I wore them and I'm like, whoa, this is pretty much how I walk when I like walk barefoot, just like a small thin cloth canvas thing covering my feet. And people
Yeah.
might not go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, I totally forgot the Tanukis would definitely be, if I had to narrow it down, that would be
Yeah.
one of my one shoes. Because
Tanuki is the white, the off grade, like the new model they have that's non-dyed, or it's just their whole model, their whole like stream.
Tanukis are the ones that are made out of the washi paper, and they
Hmm.
come in a
Hmm.
bunch of different colors. So they
Mm,
release a new color seasonally, but they also have black
yeah,
and navy blue and white all the time.
yeah.
You
This it's
should
the
try
sneaker one,
those.
the short. No, so I have Sarah has the ones that are made from non-dyed
Oh yeah, the
canvas.
manual. Uh-huh.
Yeah, you're more the expert with names, and I have the like bright orange ones, which I wore to like a
Nice.
it was so cool. I like went to a Friday night meal, which is like a Sabbath dinner, like it's formal. We're talking like white button down and black like trousers. So my white button down, black pants, and my bright orange Tanuki, and it totally killed it because it should be on your wear this, not that thing. But it's like it just made the whole outfit pop, and it's really it's just interesting how if you're accepting of like what you wear, no one's gonna say anything. Like people
Oh
know
yeah.
Sean's either barefoot or wearing like really cool shoes or funky ones. Like I don't know if I'd wear my toe shoes to Friday night dinner, but I've shown up barefoot to Friday night dinner, so all's chill. Wow. So I have a few questions from our large fan base and our
Okay.
audiences. And that question, by the way, what your favorite shoe is, was from, besides me, was from various people. And question number one is, trying to remember one moment. So when someone comes to you and says all barefoot shoes are ugly, so what would be either your response or your go-to brand or two that you'd recommend to prove their point, to disprove them and show them, hey, there is some nice brands out there.
I mean, to me, that's like the easiest one to disprove. I just be like, like, honey, just go to my website or go to my
Yeah.
Instagram page. Or if they're like with me, then I'll show them options.
Hmm.
And almost without fail, they're like, oh, well, that's not what I thought of when I thought of barefoot shoes. Like, I didn't think that that could be a barefoot shoe. So that one is easy for me, at least in my opinion. I always have fun with that one. And my Wear This Not That series
Right.
is
I love it.
specifically designed for that. Um, of course, that's mainly female shoes. But for men's too, there's tons of options that look pretty mainstream. So yeah, that's what I would say.
There really is. I mean, I'm experimenting with the magical shoes, new like Chelsea model, like the brown suede ones, and they look exactly like regular Blundstone. Like
Mm.
Blundstone is just like a tons of Israel. You know, you're familiar with Blundstone, yeah? It's like the
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Chelsea, like the stiff boot. And I'm trying to find someone in my community who has like these dark brown Blundstones, so I can do a side by side because the foot shit. I don't know how magical shoes does it. I guess they're magical. Their toe box is not super like clowny shape as we call
Yeah.
it. It's kind of like a mount, you would call it like a mountain shape, like it slopes at the edge. It
Yeah.
looks normal, but you can roll it up into a shoe. You can roll it up into a ball, and the ground feel is amazing. And then you take this blunt stone, you try to bend it, and it's people's
Uh-huh.
feet hurt. And we're talking people who work, like in the security range, you need to wear Blundstone for work, and they're always looking for alternatives, as you said before, because of foot pain. And it's kind of like wear this, not that. I've been looking for the shoe to do kind of like I did with the Field Grounds and the Nike sneaker, just to side by side them and show people that there are options that exist out there because why do people have to live their whole life with foot pain? The next
Yep.
question is for someone who is starting out barefoot, and you're also a great example of this because you really like transition slowly. What do you recommend starting off with like a thick, like ultra thick sole slash barefoot shoe, like ultra,
Mm-hmm.
mid-level sole, let's say like Lems, or thin sole, which would probably be, most of the barefoot shoes out there.
Yeah, Viva Barefoot, Wildling, something
Hmm.
like that. So this one, I know people always want me to pick one shoe that is the best one to start with, and I refuse to do that
That's
because
okay.
um, because I don't think that there is a right one for everybody to start with. So if you are someone like me who is unable, or not me currently, but me in the past, someone who was like me, who was very reliant on orthotics, thick shoes, heels, all of that sort of a thing, something like an Ultra or a Lems is a really great first step. If you are already comfortable being barefoot a lot, like you already know that you like not wearing shoes or you like minimalist shoes. A lot of people are already wearing some that are kind of minimalist, like Toms or
Hmm.
flip flops or things like that. They don't wear arch support most of the time. Then someone like that could go straight into something like Vivo Barefoot or Wildling. And another option is you just buy one pair of shoes that is more on the minimalist side, no matter where you are, in terms of your foot health. And then you just go back and forth. You just wear it for 30 minutes a day. And then you increase, then a week later, you go 45 minutes a day. And that way of transitioning is also, I think, a nice way if you don't want to have to spend a lot of money on transition shoes. That can be a little bit intimidating for people to think, oh, I got to buy a new pair of shoes every few months. So it really depends on your current foot health state and also what shoes you wear. So if you never wear athletic sneakers, why would your first barefoot shoe be an athletic sneaker?
Mm.
If you need something more comfortable for work, then try that first of all. Or, that's my philosophy, is something that kind of matches where you're at in terms of your foot health, and then something that matches your life so that you'll actually wear it. And then if budget's an issue, then I would say start more barefoot, but don't wear it all the time at first, and go back and forth. And that way you can start with a shoe that's kind of more your end goal and work towards it. I have an FAQ on my website, and one of them is how to pick your first pair of barefoot shoes. And so I kind of go through that. Also things like where you're located in the world. So if you're in
Amazing.
Israel, then check out resources that are closer to you, places with free shipping, free returns, things like that, that you could also take into account, just because I feel like the process should be non-threatening for maximum success.
Yeah. I mean, it is hard because there's not so many physical stores yet. And even with all these handy sizing charts and all the resources out there, such as yours, it is hard to sometimes, and it is intimidating to order online. People do want to go to a physical store. And what the center here in Tel Aviv, it's called Barefoot Life, is doing is they have 14, 15 brands or so. And they're not just a barefoot store. They're kind of similar to what TFC is doing, Foot Collective. They become a center of movement, and they teach natural movement. They teach natural running as well. So people come there, they can try and choose, and they can learn how to lacrosse ball their feet and do ankle mobility and fix their bunions, which I think goes hand in hand with buying your first barefoot shoe. I did want to add two things onto what you said. I think it also matters. You did say it, but I'm going to refine it further, more in the performance world, what you plan on doing with the shoes. So the highest rate of injury when transitioning to barefoot shoes that I've seen is when someone is a runner, specifically a runner, because of the high impact on your bones, joints, and ligaments, especially your hip, knee, and ankle. So you can't transition quickly if you're going from, let's say, running marathons and then trying to switch to minimalist shoes and then again running marathons. For people who are mainstream, just walking in the workplace or walking with their family, walking their dog, they usually can get away with a thinner shoe because the load on their body is not that bad. Be barefoot at home, be barefoot on the grass, wear minimalist shoes day to day. Whereas, as we said, running or longer hike duration, you want to be more careful with how you transition. You want to do a little bit slower. The next question is, and I've got this a lot, mostly from the Barefoot Shoe Review end of things, people in just really far, South America, South Africa, India, Mexico, places that they don't have mainstream brands that ship there. Could you name off the what's the term? The palm of your fingers? Is that a terminology, like the expression? Can you whip out of your hat? Can you whip out of your hat 3-4 brands that ship internationally everywhere and are just accessible for everyone, regardless of location? Obviously, don't expect it to get it to Russia now or Antarctica, but just will ship majority of places without issues.
Yeah. So before I do that, I do want to say that I have an article called Barefoot Shoe Brands in Your Region of the World.
Nice.
And I'm always adding to it whenever I discover a new brand in some place. So there's a brand in India, there's a brand in Brazil, Chile, places like that where there currently aren't a lot of brands. I have an eye for that so that I can help people get connected. So that's one place where I would check. I send people a lot if they're like, I can't find anything near me. Second, you asked about brands that can ship everywhere. So Vivo Barefoot has tons of different locations around the world, and they can pretty much get anywhere. Most of the other big brands don't have satellite locations, but they do ship worldwide. So Feel Grounds, Wildling, Lem Zero, Freet even. UK is a bit tricky right now just because of some new laws that they had in January take effect. So several brands stopped shipping to the UK temporarily and are going to pick back up once they get the documentation necessary figured out. But yeah, most of the bigger brands do ship worldwide.
Yeah, we've struggled here in Israel. Not that it's a third world country, but Zeros, Field Grounds, and Freets stopped shipping to Israel during Corona because their packages were getting stuck somewhere in Europe and people weren't getting
Yeah,
them, which is bad for the company, bad for the shipping company, and bad for the person who wants to get his shoes. So
right.
there's obviously workarounds. So now the store in Tel Aviv is stocking Freets and was stocking Zeros. They stopped with them, but now the bigger company is taking over Zeros. But Fieldground still doesn't ship to Israel, and it's a shame because if I want to refer people to Fieldgrounds because I believe it's a beautiful shoe, especially for someone who's looking for like a nice, pleasing, simple aesthetic. I can't for them because they're just not going to get them unless you like go through a company that ships it and it's just more of
Forward.
a hassle
Yeah,
and it's more likely someone's not going to buy a shoe if it's complicated. If they can go
yeah,
on the site, enter
for
a
sure.
coupon code, boom, buy, it's done. Two more questions. One's from someone else, one's from me. What's one niche barefoot shoe that hasn't been created yet that you would like to either create or be created? Dun dun dun.
So a true barefoot work boot is the one of the last ones that needs to be developed. Steel toe work boot. There
Hmm.
is a really good option that's pretty good, but yeah, that's one place. Um, a
Are you
cleat.
looking at your collection? Or are you just like looking,
No,
let's see
no,
what's
I'm just looking
missing?
to the side. No, there's nothing over
Let me look
there.
at my 3,000 pair collection real quick. Okay.
uh,
Yeah.
cleats are definitely next.
Yes. They're
Um,
getting there.
yeah,
They're
yeah,
getting
no,
there.
and the work boot too.
Yeah.
This is like stuff that is changing already.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, you put me on the
I know I'm
spot.
putting you
Now
on
I
the
can't
spot here. I
remember.
got you. I know.
I
Go to
know
the
that
closet.
there's. I heard somebody ask recently for more like lifters, which is
Oh, a
like,
weightlifting shoe. Mm.
yeah, a weightlifting shoe, and then also skiing boots. So
Mm.
it's really the niche
It's
areas.
it's wow. This is a lot of like food for thought here. Like I'm also like brainstorming. Wait, go ahead, finish what you're saying. I'll address it in a moment.
I was just gonna say that what's left is specialized shoes.
Right. Which
You
is a
know,
very small market, which can be like either they'll be so successful because they're the only one doing it, or no one's gonna buy it because like why would I buy a ski shoe if I can just buy shoes and wear them for ski and then take them off
or
and then
there's
massage
just,
my feet
yeah,
up.
not enough people buying them. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's why these types of shoes have been slow to come out,
Mhm.
is because there's not enough of a
Yeah,
market
it's
yet.
a very niche business model. I know that cleats is like the closest cause to my heart because it was the first roundup I did. This was like 2 years, I don't remember exactly, maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. I wrote a roundup on best cleat alternatives, and nothing
Hmm.
existed, and they still don't exist. What I use for cleats for tackle football, rugby, soccer, and ultimate frisbee is the Vivo Barefoot Soft Ground. I find that there's plenty of room in the toe box and there's plenty of traction on the thing, but because of the wide toe box if you don't have wide feet, your feet can slide back and forth. Now that I've really built up my splay, so my feet really go to the edge of the Vivo Barefoots, which are
Yeah.
not like particularly wide, although the soft ground is decent. So like I can play all sports and then button tackle football where you can easily get stepped on or cleated. I've torn my Vivo Barefoot in half playing like tackle football and rugby. So on the one hand, it's functional for your feet, but on the other hand, is it functional for the sport? There is two
Yes.
guys doing that. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you're making me remember basketball shoes are
Yeah.
requested. And it's the same type of a thing where if it's so big, you stop hard and your foot just like goes around in the wide toe box. So
Yeah.
finding that balance so that it's still functional for the sport. I mean, that's way beyond me. I can't do that, but I can appreciate that challenge for people who are trying to find the better shoes.
Yeah, a big thing I'm doing, especially because I have all this like strength and conditioning and athletic performance knowledge, is I'm really trying to find niche shoes for niche sports. So like literally today, I was testing out, you'll see a post coming up soon on it. I was testing out the Zero 360 on tennis, a tennis court, not just like, oh guys, here's my beautiful Zero 360, but actually like, does this perform for my sport? Can athletes wear this and not hurt themselves? I tried it on a
Hmm.
basketball court playing basketball, including change direction and jumping and potentially being stepped on. I tried it climbing because it does have a grippy outsole. I tried it on turf and I tried it on a real grass. So real grass turf, like the Zero 360, is not a soccer shoe. It just doesn't have enough traction. But for tennis and basketball, it was surprisingly well. Obviously, I'd be hesitant about telling like a competitive athlete to wear this during their match because if like their
Right.
money and they're famous online, but maybe for trainings or maybe for their day to day, I'd be more recommended to do it. Even for tackle footballers today, and I work with the national team of Israel in flag football. They wear cleats during their games and practices, and the reason why they wear it during practices is because they're going to wear it during their game, which means they have to perform in the shoe that they're going to play in. but during like strength and conditioning sessions with me, shoes are off. Unless you
Mhm.
specifically need traction, and even when their cleats are on, we treat them as an okay, girls, cleats off, splay your toes. Like I treat it as something bad or something not so good yet. And until the day comes, there's two people. There's Code to Footwear, which by the way
Mhm.
merged with Pre-Evolve. Pre-Evolve was originally on my Barefoot Cleat Roundup. This was like when I wrote it. They no longer exist, but Code to Footwear merged with them. Viva Barefoot Soft Ground is a cool option. There's also the Natural Athletics guy who's making
Yep.
like kids cleat shoes.
Mhm.
And like speaking of like closing circles, I think 2 years ago he texted me and said, "Hey, do you think this like pitch would work for adults?" So I told him it's
Mhm.
not so much about working for adults, it's about you have to approach athletes and say, "This product will make you healthier." Because athletes don't care about ruining their toes. They care about their winning the game and performance. So in the long run, if you could convince, and this is the same for military, by the way, if you could convince the US Marines, or if you could convince the IDF, or you can convince athletic organizations that this product will increase an athlete's performance and they'll be faster and stronger and win more games, it will go. If it was just better for a greater longevity, but not inherently good for the specific games, then it's not
Mhm.
really going to flow. That's regarding cleats, and the same obviously for tactical minimalist boots. Although I do find mini bells are a decent option, very minimal drop.
Mhm.
When it comes to
Mini
ski
mill.
shoes, yeah, you know the mini bells like the combat boots.
The Belleville mini mill. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, I forgive me, oh queen. Anyways, I'm not, I don't know all the brands, but I know that I was served in the IDF and a lot of us in reserves, so I wear trackers like the Vivo Barefoot
Uh-huh.
trackers, which are not a
Okay.
combat or tactical boot, but they're like rugged enough to give you like the quote quote ankle support, which I don't really believe you need, but to just give you something that's a little bit thicker than a regular shoe. So if you get stepped on or whatever it is, you're not going to survive. Regarding ski boots and snowboarding boots, so first snowboard instead of ski because snowboarding boots are wider. That was my personal choice.
Mm.
But ski boots are the absolute devil. Like
They're
everything we
pretty bad.
hate, everything we hate about shoes is on a ski boot. It's tight, it's rigid, it's stiff. But you also have to understand that humans weren't meant to strap on sticks on their feet and slide down the mountain. So sorry, God, but like there's only so much niche you can ask for. It could be if a company can maybe eliminate some of the bad characteristics. Did I pronounce that right? Of ski boots or snowboarding shoes, then it could be good. But they have to be stiff. They have to be rigid. They have to be attached to
Mhm.
the stick. And this applies to any niche brand out there. There is, I think, for work boot, there's the guy like Gouchy Ninja or something. You know
Yeah,
what I'm talking
Gaucho
about?
Ninja. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he recently got his work boots just fully, what's the word, accredited, or I'm not sure what the terminology is.
Patented.
No, not patented. He got it safety rated, like
Mm,
officially rated for safety.
amazing. Wow.
So he has the steel toe option, and then he's also going to introduce a reinforced toe that's a composite that's
Amazing.
not steel toe, and then the puncture resistant non-slip outsole, all that
Hmm.
stuff. So his safety boots are legit, like they are everything. The main hurdle there is the cost,
Yeah,
and
they're
then
homemade. They're handmade. I mean, the one guy's making them. That's gonna be the.
yeah, it's pretty expensive, but really that's the ultimate barefoot safety boot is from Gaucho Ninja. I recommend the Birkenstock QS 700 before that most of the time, just because of cost and accessibility,
Hmm.
which has an insole in it that once you take it out, they're totally flat, and they do roll up,
It's
and the toe
amazing.
box is really good. And there's a minimalist shoe store, a retailer in Spain called Zami that carries them and ships them
Hmm.
worldwide. So that one is a really popular one. It's non electrical hazard, non slip, steel toe over the ankle, all of that sort of thing
Mm.
that a lot of people need for even like firefighters and uh, construction workers and warehouse. And that one has worked pretty well for a lot of people that I've talked to. um, but yeah, there's a lot in that whole space where sure there's some things or there's some workarounds, but you really need someone, like you were saying, someone who knows the sport
Hmm.
and knows footwear
Yeah.
and can make it, because you can't, like with a ski boot, there are some things you can't get
You
rid
need
of.
you need stiffness.
Yeah, and same with cleats. The Nature Athletics, the person who's developing that was talking about how the sole can't be too flexible, because then when you're standing, the little cleats will push up into your feet and it'll be
Right.
super uncomfortable and painful. And so there's just challenges, like a lot of challenges when you get into that niche footwear, and it really requires a lot of high level of expertise. And I'm excited to see the innovation there, but I think we probably still have quite a ways to go with a lot of it. But definitely, like, I'm super excited about the cleat options that are coming out, and I think that we're going to be seeing some cool things.
Yeah, I mean, there's also, the zero non-slip like pre right is not, it's not certified, correct?
It's not safe, like it doesn't have an ASTM
Safety
rating.
boot, right? So, I didn't try it. You can give your info in it, but I saw your funny video in it. So, like, it's non-slip, which means it's a great work boot for people who are looking for something that, follows the regulations. It's just not going to go. There has been some really innovative stuff, like the Togo pedals. If you've seen them, I actually have them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? So I have them on my bike. They're really cool, but they're not like the most functional thing out there. Like, I would go for a casual ride with them, but like when I competed in my 100-mile bike race, you have to be clipped in.
Couldn't do.
You can't, like, it's not even about, it's about safety. Like, if one fall off your bike, you're gonna shred your skin off because you're driving at very high speeds. And there's also the concept, and I work a lot with runners, especially barefoot runners. The goal of a barefoot runner is to eventually be able to run at the same pace that you run with your shod foot, like with shoes, barefoot shoes or minimalist shoes. I don't care, as long as you forefoot strike. Sorry, barefoot shoes or non-barefoot shoes, and barefoot. So the day that you get to the same pace and the same running times in your miles or kilometers in barefoot running, it means that you've mastered the art of running. It means that you're no longer reliant on shoes, and that takes years and years to get to. It's not something that happens overnight, but there is the basic concept of function. And with biking, for example, if you're competing in a race and everyone's wearing clipped in, which means you're pulling, and like with biking, so you can push if you wear like shoes, and with clipped in shoes, which is cleats that like kind of attach to the pedals, you can push and pull. So with the Togo pedals, you can push and pull as well, but it's just not the same efficiency. Like,
you have to use
you're like, I'm a crab. They're cool for like casual rides. I did use, though, when I was doing the 100-mile bike race, and I rode a roundup also. I'm like in the niche stuff. Like, I rode a roundup on sport cleats, and I rode a roundup on bike cleats. I wore Bont shoes, which are fantastic. BONT, you can look them up. They're super wide. They're stiff AF because they're a biking cleat, and they have to, as you said with the sport cleat, they have to clip into something. They need to be stiff and have a carbon sole. Maybe some technology will come out in 5 years' time, which will give you a flexible biking sole. Like, I biked in VFS 5 and 5 fingers as well, but you need that stiffness. And until someone could either find like some magic, kryptonite technology, which can like harden and soften as we go, nerd stuff. Now to talk about nerd stuff, can harden and soften as we go along. Then, like, just realizing that there's knee shoes. Like, when we went to Bulgaria for snowboarding for 3 weeks, I wore my snowboarding boots. But the second I finished snowboarding, bloop, off they came, and I was either barefoot in the snow or wearing my good old Freet Muddy, and I was wearing toe spreaders. And what I find funny is that people who live in these like snowboarding ski resorts, whether it's instructors or just people who live there, they live their whole day in snowboarding boots and ski boots. And they're like, oh my God, my feet hurt so much. Like, that's all they do. Like, my feet, I'm like, yeah, because you're in ski boots all day. Like, there's not enough, I'm forgetting the word in English. In Hebrew, it's modut. There's not enough like awareness of the fact that your foot pain is going to be caused by shoes, like is probably caused by shoes. Last question, and this is for me, is what would be your best wisdom for someone who, besides obviously check out your site, what would be the best wisdom for someone who's just starting on the journey? Like, it is overwhelming. I was overwhelmed by it too. There's too much information out there, too many brands, too many thickness, overwhelming. Help me out here.
Yeah, so I always say that if you want to start thinking about your feet more, then just go barefoot more. Like, don't even think about shoes for a little while. You can read some articles, do your research, but just start getting acquainted with using your feet more. Being barefoot, doing like, what do I call them? Like human toe fingers or toe spacers, where you use your fingers. Yeah. Interlace your toes with your fingers, spread them out, roll them out on a ball at night. That is probably the best way to start, honestly. If you're ready to look at shoes, then I mentioned earlier things to think about, whether you want a thick sole or a thin sole or price, that sort of thing. But ultimately, making it easy Like, so if it's, whether it's ordering from Amazon or it's a brand with free shipping and free returns, so that you can just order with confidence that if it doesn't work out, it's not going to be a huge hassle to send it back. And knowing that it's a good chance that you might have to, just because, like you said, you never really know until it's on your foot how it's going to work. And besides that, yeah, checking out my website.
Keeping it simple does work. I do struggle with the concept. Like my mother-in-law, for example, is having severe foot pain. We visit them once a year. We go for the holiday of Passover. And first thing I did is take her like really, really high-heeled, like really narrow toe box shoes off. And she's like, oh, my foot feels better because she wears them all day. So I gave her like some cross ball stuff to do. I gave her some arch strengthening exercises. I gave her some big toe extension, flexion. And she does this. She's a competitive cyclist. So she does this religiously every day. And she's like, my feet are so much better. But then the second she does her exercise, she crams her foot back into shoes. She'll refuse to wear barefoot shoes because they're quote, quote, ugly. But it's like you can't win all the battles. And the fact that she's spending time on restoring her foot's function, even if she's undoing that but putting on shoes, like I'm at peace with that. It is my mother-in-law, so I don't have to be at complete peace with her, you know what I mean? But but I'm saying like you're not gonna win every battle, and the fact that she's doing something for her greater foot health and aware of it is already a good place to be.
Yeah, and sometimes it takes a while. Sometimes you do foot exercises for a year and then you're like, all right, I'm ready for the shoes now. And so I don't feel a lot of stress, like you said, about making people do certain things if they're not ready for it. So if foot exercises and that sort of thing is where you start and you hang out there for a while, then that's wonderful because you're going to be benefiting from it.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel the same way.
Yeah, I mean, also that because a lot of brands don't ship to Israel, I'm just concerned that the shipping time will be too long or it will get lost. So I've been sending a lot of the shoes that me and Sarah are really growing our collection in the past few months. I've been sending them all to my in-laws' house in Brooklyn. So like when I go to America, there's gonna be a lot of boxes waiting for me, and hopefully she'll be like, she'll get a little bit interested. What's going on here? Maybe I wanted some in. Anyways, I want to thank you so much for coming along. It's really a privilege. And
thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's an honor for me. And I want to finish off with a line, and then we're gonna let you tell us like where we could find you on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever it may be. But understanding that barefoot shoes, if you're still not convinced by listening to this podcast, understand that barefoot shoes, and I've said it twice, is not just another apparel line or another clothing brand or another like, oh, I got my Air Jordans, like everyone likes their and my flat, what are they called, the caps with like the flat
Dude, I don't even know.
Whatever. I'm saying like there's certain things that people obsess about, like it's a brand like Nike and Adidas. Barefoot shoes is not that. Barefoot, for me at least, is something much greater and much more holistic and much more health oriented, which is why it makes me so privileged to be part of this community that we're building, because I'm part of something greater than me. It's not just a piece of fabric on my foot. Anya, can you tell us where we can find you and your resources and everything about you?
Yeah, sure. So we mentioned my website, anyasreviews.com, is kind of the main place where you can usually find everything. That's where I put all of my energy, is there. On social media, you can find me on Instagram and Facebook, both under Anya's Reviews. And I also have a YouTube channel where I sporadically do YouTube reviews of shoes and some healthy foot exercises, a few little tidbits there. And my newsletter for anyasreviews.com, I send out a weekly newsletter with some updates on like new models and new reviews and things that I'm reading about in the healthy movement world, just to kind of keep people, engaged and interested in what's going on without having to be on social media all the time. So I like that. I've been putting more effort into that because I know there's kind of a push towards being a little more detached from your phone, like we had been talking about. Finally, my shop is anyas-shop.com. We are based in the US. We do ship worldwide, but yeah, there are definitely some challenges right now with the postal service. And then my last resource is barefootshoefinder.com, which is a database of brands. And so you can filter by vegan or custom, grounding shoes, shoe size, shoe type, location in the world, all kinds of tons of filtering options, also width, sole thickness, to get connected with the brand that is going to work best for you. And so that kind of relates to my website, where I give more personalized, like in my own voice, how I feel about shoes on anyasreviews.com. And then Barefoot Shoe Finder is a little bit more technical, lots of information. And so I recommend people take the quiz, find some brands, and then go to my website and see how I feel about them, more narrative description, images of them on my feet, that sort of thing. And that's pretty much it.
Wow, sweet. That's a really cool resource. I'm definitely going to check that out. Thank you so much again for coming on the show. It's a really, really a privilege to have you, get to meet you, get to know you, Baby Yoda, all the good convos we had. And yeah, Sean and Anya out. Thanks so much for tuning into the show, and we'll see you all next time.
Thanks, Sean.